Okay, hello and welcome to Traces, Myth, History, and Meaning. I'm your host, Emily Oman. I'm here again with
Natalie Oman.
Yeah, today we're going to continue our dream series on part 3. You know, last week I had mentioned in our intro that we were going to talk about art as well.
Mm-hmm.
We got interrupted by that construction and we never went back. So we're going to add that to today, and then we'll talk about art, group Dreamwork, which we kind of touched on, but I'll go into more of the correct way of doing it.
Okay.
And then we'll go into cultural and mythological lenses. You excited?
Ready for a deep dive?
Yeah. Wow, look at that with the hand motion and everything.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. All right, let's begin. Art.
Art in dreams?
Yes. Okay.
Like when you're painting in your dream?
Well, it's working with the dream by, in your waking life, painting or drawing. There's also a way to enact your dreams. Okay, so I have found, particularly for me, it's like spaces. Some people like to draw the characters, but I find that if I'm trying to draw the location inside where I find myself, I remember more details. And this isn't the only reason for doing it. There's the other added benefit of bringing up different emotions that might come up if you're exploring different things on the page. If you are more of a kinesthetic learner, is that right? Then enacting or dancing it out can be beneficial and can bring up other emotions, other thoughts, other physical sensations.
I'm going to go to the mountains and just start booking it down a hill.
There you go. Exactly. Look behind you. For those that don't remember, Natalie has a recurring dream of a snowman.
Yeah, just go back and listen to the other episode.
There you go. So that's art. Could bring more insight, just as space and active imagination and all of the other points of view that we talked about has done previously. All right, next we will talk about group listening and responding.
About dreams.
About dreams, yes. Okay, so this is really special, and I want to go into how I did it in a dream class that I took with Kent Dobson in January of this year. And it's also very close to Robert Bosnack, how he does it in his group classes. So the dreamer will go into their dream and they'll say it present tense, always present tense. The listeners listen with a wide consciousness. Again, before
a wide consciousness. Okay.
I know.
Yes.
Yeah.
There.
And they're also we also check in with our body as the listeners beforehand. So that we can see if anything in the dream shifts something in our physical body, or changes some of our emotions or thoughts. Now, the listener is allowed to ask a question based on something that was aroused for them during the telling of the dream. But they don't interpret, affirm, or rescue. They just ask a question like, I was curious about the guy from the Mayhem commercials in your dream. And then you would start talking about it. Maybe
or what does that
more.
guy look like, or what kind of house are you in? Stuff like that. Okay.
Right. But to protect the dreamer by sticking to these rules, you provide a sense of safety, I guess. I think, and they steer away from asking for the listeners' associations. They really keep it as a personal thing, and the others are just sort of witnesses, and seek to provoke the dreamer into speaking about it. I think that's beneficial. I think perhaps the reason that you would steer away from having other people say their associations is so that the conversation doesn't get co-opted by other people.
Yeah. Because it's your subconscious talking to you.
Right.
So you're just having them help you get to the questions that you need to ask yourself, right? Or your own subconscious kind of a deal?
I think so.
Yeah.
But I also disagree slightly. I think in a respectful way, you can ask for the associations of another.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my own amateur opinion here. I'm not a dream researcher or expert by any means. But anyways, it promotes empathy in the group. If you go back to the dream science episode, we talk about how group dream work really builds empathy and a closeness in the group dream work groups. Also spouses, it's apparently bonds spouses better together. Yeah. So tell your dreams to Johnny.
Okay. John.
All right, next is cultural lens. Let's use the polar bear dream.
Okay.
And let's ask ourselves what was happening in America in January and early February of 2024.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a little research, dug a little into the pop culture. Apparently, Nicki Minaj and Megan Thee Stallion were having a feud.
Oh.
Were you aware of this?
They were like icy cold.
I guess there was like some
other.
lyrics in different songs that would refer to each other. Man, I just don't keep up on the
somewhere in the back of your subconscious. This was really getting to you.
Right. To me, that seems pretty superficial and perhaps something that could be thought about. Another thing, it was right before Biden's mental state came into question. I think people were already questioning it, but the document hadn't been released about the guy talking about his mental clarity state. So there's that.
You're in a barren political wasteland.
Right. And it's very cold and shallow.
Oh, yeah.
Very
shallow.
I mean, yeah. Let's look. What else do I have in here? In general, is our society comfortable being shallow or immature, or comfortable being a bear to each other? I don't know. Are you thinking, does any of this come up for you?
Well, I mean, it was between January and February, so it's the coldest time of the year for us in the Northern Hemisphere. So, culturally, everybody is feeling very bundled up, and there's a lot of, pop culture references to winter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 Interesting. I also feel like America is in a perpetual state of adolescence. Like we can't get out of this needing to belong to certain groups and being accepted by others and
kind of going to that shallow aspect. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We need elders in our society, not perpetual teens, in my opinion. So maybe my subconscious is also reflecting that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only way to change these things in our culture, though, is that whole think globally, act locally. Like, what can I do in myself to make myself less shallow, or at least less comfortable in situations that are pretty shallow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
or standoffish, icy, whatever. Okay, great. I think that's pretty much it for cultural lens. I also, another thing that seems superficial that I found in the news in January, Oregon Supreme Court upholds ballot measure 113 by banning 10 of 12 Republican members of Oregon's Senate from refusing to attend 6 weeks worth of legislative sessions in order to stall Democratic legislation.
Okay.
Translation. It seems like 10 Republican members of the Oregon Senate were being shallow and wanted to not attend some sessions because they wanted to stall some democratic legislation. I feel like this happens on both sides of the aisle, that it's more about furthering a political party than actually making change or working together.
Mm-hmm.
So could be an example. And then the last one I had there was Barbie was kind of snubbed at the Oscars for female director. Well, just in the category of best directing, and also lead actress. We had Ken getting nominated. We had Ryan Gosling, but not Margot Robbie.
So maybe the shallowness of Hollywood.
Perhaps, yeah. Yeah, okay. Mythological. I was looking into the mythology of the polar bear, and there's an Inuit mythological deity, I guess, called Nanook. Nanook. I think most of the spellings are Nanook, so Nanook seems like probably the most. If I step back from my dream, the questions to ask yourself for your own dreams are there any patterns or symbols in your dreams that can be seen in a mythical landscape? So you saw how I did that with a polar bear, but if you went into your abominable snowman dream, is there something cultural, a story that would go along with this abominable snowman?
Probably.
Right? Yeah, probably. Right? And then what is the energy or instinct behind that, behind the character or behind the story itself? If you read the story, does it evoke anything? That's another thing to think about. So for Nanook, let's go into it. Let me reach for my thing here. All right. In the Arctic's unforgiving landscapes, the Inuit have woven a rich tapestry of mythology centered around Nanook, the master of polar bears and the guardian of frozen realms. Revered for his strength and wisdom, Nanook symbolizes the profound connection between the Inuit and their natural environment.
Wait, hang on. Strength and wisdom, which is not what we were associating the polar bear with at the beginning. It was more danger and fearing the polar bear. But this is something, strength and wisdom seems like something that you would want to get close to.
You're right. Yeah. Interesting observation. I like that. He's also said to be married, or his consort is, what's her name here? Sedna, Sedna. She's the goddess of the sea and marine life. So they sort of complement each other. He's sort of the land and and she's the sea. And when hunters went out to hunt, they wanted Nanook's approval, basically, and to help them in the hunt. Once they would get a polar bear and kill it, then they would make sure to eat all of the meat except for the liver, and which is interesting. And then they would set the skull up while they did some ritual dances, I think, and so that it could see that, I guess, how did they describe it? Sort of to approve of the hunters having eaten the bear. And so then, and they're said to then sail them out into the ocean and drop the bones as an offering to make their way back into the spirit realm with Nanook or something like that.
But they wouldn't eat the liver. Interesting.
Is that because it processes all of our...
But typically the liver is very rich in nutrients. So, a lot of people take beef liver supplements.
Oh, that's interesting. That would be something to look into then and see if there's... it's crazy about the subconscious is, the concept of the collective unconscious, of course. Do you want to explain that too?
No.
Okay. Jungian concept. Carl Jung basically discovered that there's a lot of things that people across cultures and generations brought up in dreams and in psychological experiences. So, for example, he was working in a hospital, and there was a gentleman who was looking at the sun, and I think he saw like the phallus on the sun, some sort of like phallus on the sun. And then he realized that there was this myth. I'm butchering this story, but this was like the first initial thought that maybe there is a collective unconscious. There is this weird ether in which we all have a tie to. And that our unconscious can sort of draw from. It's like this pool of knowledge or pool of, I think Joseph Campbell was the one to say that, and I could be wrong about this too. I probably should have come up with a lecture before I started lecturing. But basically, like the elements of myth are elements of our psyche. And that's why they resonate so deeply with us, is because there are how our brain works, how our soul works. And so the aspects that we draw from in our dreams that are mythological are I've lost the plot here, Natalie.
So the collective unconscious.
Yeah.
Is basically tapping into a collective unconscious, something that ties us all.
Right. So your dreams can draw on somebody else's myths.
And so when we look at myths, and even culturally too, we can be kind of all tapping into that same source. Or that same, so that's why if a polar bear means something in your dream, it might also mean something in somebody else's dream. But the collective unconscious is so broad that it might mean different things too. True,
Very true. So that's another thing. If you find that there is a myth that you think of immediately that corresponds to the characters of the plot of your dream, it might not be the thing that your soul is trying to tell you. Maybe you need to look broader around the world, even though maybe you're not familiar with Hindu mythology. Maybe you find a story that has aspects of your dream in it, and then you read it and you're like, oh my gosh, this seems so relevant. I had that happen with a dream several months ago that was just mind-blowing. I'm not going to share it right now, but just it had to do with a Sanskrit word. And I was like, I don't speak Sanskrit. I don't write Sanskrit, but it unlocked this whole world of meaning that was just unbelievable, that I never would have been able to be transformed by had I not looked deeper into it and looked worldwide.
One thing that we didn't cover is numbers and numerology, which I don't feel like numbers come up a lot in my dreams, but I'd be interested to look into the pattern of numbers, one polar bear versus 3 polar bears, and then seeing repetitive numbers or groupings of things in your dreams.
Absolutely. I find that, there are these things called angel numbers. Have you heard of these? So it's hard because there's several different ways of looking at numerology, but I find that whatever sect I don't know, wherever these angel numbers come from, they seem to, I seem to get messages that correspond to whatever the angel number says. Maybe I'll put a link to the specific website that I like for looking at the numbers there. But I also, colors also have that sort of thing. So I was wondering about the
green dream.
Coke bottle green dream that you had, that you shared. Green, what do you think of when you think of green?
Money, trees and landscape and earth.
Mm-hmm.
Also an eerie sense.
Hmm.
You know, green, like, I'm trying to think of, like, I don't know, just kind of an eerie feeling, you know, when you see green kind of light at nighttime. I don't know. Those are kind of the ones that come up for me.
Yeah.
But green's also my favorite color.
Hey, it's mine too. Do we know this?
I don't think so.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah, like that kind of a green and kind of like a olivey. It's my fave.
Yeah, mine's a little lighter and brighter, but
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, green can also be abundance, or I guess that kind of ties in with money and stuff too, but like growing and growth in general. So interesting.
So
which is
also
weird.
Look for your numbers and colors.
Numbers and colors, yes. And of course, symbols. Maybe I'll do just a quick rundown of symbols in another, like a quick episode. And then I want to encourage you to listen to the podcast, This Jungian Life. It's 3 Jungian analysts, and they talk about different topics. And then at the end of each episode, they take a listener's dream and they go into analyzing it, how they would analyze it. And it's just so interesting. Now, I will say, I always listen to this podcast on 1.25 speed.
Oh, yeah.
Because they talk a little slow. But the information is just
I mean, who doesn't listen to anything on 1.25 speed?
So, yeah, I think that's pretty much it for these. I just want to say, I hope that you are able to look at your dreams in these different perspectives and glean all of the information that the dream maker, whether that's your soul or the unconscious or the Lord, however you want to describe it, so that you can really take in the messages that are being sent to you on a nightly basis and allow them to transform you.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us for Traces. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Please go outside, put your feet on the ground, put your hands in the dirt.
Yes. And get some sunshine, which is hard here because it is very foggy.
It's very cloudy today. Yeah. All right. Well, take care. See you next time.
Bye.